What's up, fam? It's me. I'm back. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's being smart. I hope everybody's staying on code. If you are not on code, I hope you are getting on code, especially if you are a foundational Black American. But if you are black, period, in America or otherwise, hopefully you are realizing that there's a code and we all need to be on it. Because as of right now, we are the only group of people. We are the only nationality. We are the only ethnic group of people who refuse to get on code and stay on code. The other groups, the white folks, the Jews, the Hispanics, all these other folks, the Asians, all these other folks, they get on code and they stay on code, which simply means there's a code of conduct that they follow. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't do anything or say anything that's going to harm the group collectively. And when they see one of their own being attacked by somebody from the outside, they hurry up and they circle their wagons to protect their own. So we definitely need to learn the code, and we definitely need to get on it and stay on it. Okay, that's the first thing. But for as far as this video is concerned, there are only two things that I want to talk about, right? And one of them is something that I'm seeing a lot of people speaking on and doing commentary on. So I need to go ahead on and I need to do my little piece of commentary on this, because this was absolutely ridiculous. And it was the little section, the little speech that Condoleezza Rice, and you know, Condoleezza Rice was the 66th, Secretary of State. She was under the Bush administration, and she did her little speech, her little spiel on critical race theory. And a lot of people don't like that wording, critical race theory, because they try to make it sound like the whole racial issue that we have here in the United States, in America, is some kind of theory, like it's something that's made up, or it's something that people have to theorize about, or whatever, like it's not fact, like it's not truth. Well, the race issue in the United States is truth. It's a fact. Slavery was a fact. Jim Crow was a fact. Everything that went down during Reconstruction was a fact. What happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Tulsa massacre, that was a fact. The Wilmington massacre, that was a fact. All of these things are fact. Jim Crow, like I said, was a fact. The black codes were a fact. The slave codes were a fact. Lynching was and still is a fact. Redlining was a fact. Discrimination in housing, in education, in jobs was a fact. You understand what I'm saying? Is still a fact. The school to prison pipeline is a fact. So what's going on as far as race in America, and has been going on since before America was a nation, is a fact. It's not a theory. It's the truth. And they tried over and over and over again to rewrite history, to revise history, they've tried to make it seem like slavery wasn't as bad as they say it was, like the slave masters weren't as bad as they've been portrayed to be. In some instances, they try to act like slavery didn't exist at all. But this country was founded on racism, white supremacy. That's what this nation was founded on. That is the foundation. White supremacy and racism are the major threads that hold this country together, that hold this system together. And it's systematic. And it was never an individual thing. It was never a thing that was just pushed by the people. It was the government. Slavery was a legal institution. Jim Crow was laws. Separate but equal were laws that were on the books. And some of them are still on the books. And they're being practiced secretly. So there's nothing theoretical about race in America. So first of all, that's the reason why a lot of people don't like that name, critical race theory. Okay? That's the first thing. But we're going to break down a little bit of what Condoleezza Rice had to say as far as critical race theory being taught in schools is concerned, and how she feels about it and what her concerns are as far as this whole critical race theory thing is concerned. Basically, all they're trying to do is they're trying to remove any teaching of race, slavery, Jim Crow, the racial disparities, the wealth gap between black and white that was caused due to all of this racism and white supremacy, and that racial, that wealth gap is real. That's fact. That's not a theory. Okay? And black people, whether they were enslaved Africans or whether they were native indigenous people of this land, you understand what I'm saying, were enslaved, and they built the foundation and they built the wealth of this nation and others. That the white folks were able to pass down from generation to generation to generation. And I guess of course each generation would build on it, but they had to have a foundation. And the slaves, the enslaved people, were the ones that laid that foundation and laid those first 10 stories to this skyscraper that you have now. But they have never been able to enjoy in the wealth. They have never been able to participate in the wealth. And the few times that they did, like with Bruce's Beach, like with Tulsa, Oklahoma, like with Wilmington, North Carolina, and all and Seneca Village, and all of these other prosperous black communities that were built up, when they tried to participate in the wealth that they had created, not helped create, the wealth that they created, when they tried to participate in that and tried to get their part of it, there was a massacre. And everything was destroyed by white folks. And folks were killed. Folks were driven out of town. Lake Lanier, whole communities were flooded so that everybody would drown and they would lose everything. These are facts. This is truth. This is part of the American story. You can't have American history. You can't have history on the North American continent. As a matter of fact, you can't have history, period, on the planet without black folks. But you certainly cannot have it here on the North American continent without black folks. Okay? But they're trying to rewrite it. They're trying to change history. And for those who can't rewrite it, and for those who can't just completely cause certain parts of history to disappear, they're trying to claim parts of our history and trying to act like it was their people that did it. The Latinos, some Asians, trying to act like they were a part of what was really going on. No, we were the ones who did it. Foundational black Americans. Okay? So now I just wanted to lay that out. But now let's get on here to what old Khan did. Because remember, that's what they called her in the Bush administration. This woman had PhDs. This woman was more educated as far as education is concerned, and as far as degrees was concerned. This woman was more educated than anybody in the whole Bush administration. They didn't call her Dr. Rice. They didn't call her Professor Rice. They didn't call her Ms. Condoleezza Rice. They gave her a nickname, Condi. Nobody else got a nickname. But this black woman with all this education got a nickname, 90. And she has been cooning and bootlicking for these folks all these years. So they drug her out of nowhere. They pulled her out of mothballs. You understand what I'm saying? So that she could push this phony narrative about this so-called critical race theory. Pulled her up out of nowhere. We ain't heard nothing from Condoleezza Rice since that whole thing went down with Snoop and Gayle. No, that was Susan Rice. That was Susan that said that. Yeah, that was Susan. That wasn't Condoleezza. That was Susan. Condoleezza ain't had nothing to say for a long time. So they pulled her out of nowhere since Colin Powell died. You understand what I'm saying? And he was another one of those bootlicking whatevers. But they pulled her out of mothballs to come so that she could have a little something to say about this. And Whoopi is just, Whoopi Goldberg has been cooning for so long till it ain't even funny. She was a part of this too. But don't too many black people pay attention to nothing that Whoopi have to say, because she exposed herself for the bad witch that she was years back with Ted Danson. Okay? But anyway, let's get into what Condoleezza had to say. And this is Condoleezza Rice on The View.
But if I could take a moment to talk about the whole issue of critical race theory and what is and is not being taught. I come out of an academic institution, and this is something that academics debate, what is the role of race and so forth. And let me be very clear. I grew up in segregated Birmingham, Alabama. I couldn't go to a movie theater or to a restaurant with my parents. I went to segregated schools till we moved to Denver. My parents never thought I was going to grow up in a world without prejudice, but they also told me that's somebody else's problem, not yours. You're going to overcome it. And
first issue right there. So evidently, because you know, Jason Black has taught us that cooning and being a bootlick is generational. That is hereditary, that is something that's passed down from generation to generation in families, right? So it's obvious that her parents sounded like they were a bunch of coons. You understand what I'm saying? To actually raise this black child, because first of all, you've got 2 strikes against you. You are black and you are female. Notice I said black first. But you have 2 strikes against you. You are black and you are female. And you are raised in the segregated South. But she claims her parents told her that that was not her problem. How is it not her problem? How is it not every black person's problem in America to have to deal with and look at white supremacy racism for what it really is? How is it not your problem? So it was everybody else's black problem, but it wasn't her problem. And I found out something that I didn't know. The 4 little girls, the 4 little black girls, they got bombed in that church in Alabama. I think it was in 1965, 1964, somewhere along in there, during the height of the civil rights movement, when in the South the Klan was doing all this bombing and all of that. Well, comes to find out, 3 of those little girls were her friends. Condoleezza Rice, they were her friends. She knew them personally. So she has been up close and personal with the racism and the white supremacy in the United States. She has lived it. It is not just a part of the history of this nation. It's a part of her personal history, her personal background. So that makes it even worse for her to come out and say what you will hear her say in a few minutes. And for her to actually say that her parents told her, okay, basically what they were saying is, what happened to your friends, that's not your problem. You gonna overcome it. Racism and white supremacy killed them. They didn't get a chance to live and overcome anything, but that's not your problem. You gonna overcome it. Get what? what I'm saying now. Let me repeat. Let me let you hear it again.
Going to be with me. That's somebody else's problem, not yours. is going to grow up in a world without prejudice, but they also told me that's somebody else's problem, not yours. You're going to overcome it, and you are going to be anything you want to be. And
that's somebody else's problem, not yours. That's what they told her. You understand what I'm saying? This young girl who was friends with other little black girls who have been bombed and killed in a church because of racism and white supremacy. Her parents pretty much let her know that's not your problem. That's somebody else's problem. That's not something that you have to deal with. That's not something that you have to worry about. Although those were your friends, although you was raised during this era, although this had to have affected her personally, you gonna overcome it. Well, exactly how did she overcome it? Let's keep going.
That's the message that I think we ought to be sending to kids. One of the worries that I have about the way that we're talking about.
So that's the message that we ought to be sending black kids, is that racism and white supremacy is somebody else's problem. That's not your problem. It's somebody. Okay, well, who is the somebody else? If this is what we're going to be teaching all black children, is that white supremacy and racism is somebody else's problem, who is that somebody else? Because who else in America has ever been treated like black folk in America? Who else in America was enslaved and owned? I'm not talking about indentured servitude where you have so many years and you can pay off a debt and then you can run free, or even if you are an indentured servant or an indentured slave or whatever they call you, that don't mean that they own your children and your children's children and all. We were the only people that were enslaved and owned by other human beings. And our children were owned, and our children's children were owned, and could be snatched away from us and sold at the drop of a hat, at the white man's whim, at the slave master's whim. Who else in America has been through that? Who else in America has been lynched and hung and burnt and mutilated? Who else in America has been raped continually over and over and over again and used to breed more slaves, to breed more property? Who else in the Constitution is referred to as 3/4 of a person? So if she's saying that we're supposed to teach all black children that that's someone else's problem, that white supremacy and racism is someone else's problem, then who else that's someone else? And how do we teach them that when they deal with white supremacy and racism every day of the week? They deal with it at school. They deal with it in their neighborhoods. They deal with it on the streets. They deal with it on jobs when they finally go to work. They deal with it in their everyday lives. So you're going to lie to them, basically. You're going to lie to them and tell them, but even though you're dealing with a little bit of it, even though, you're scared to go out at night, you're scared to be stopped by the police because they might kill you, they might racially profile you, or you're scared to get in any kind of little small trouble because they're going to make your charges bigger and they're going to try to throw the book at you. You understand what I'm saying? You're 10 years old and you draw a picture, in Hawaii, just the other week, I think it was just last week, a 10-year-old black girl drew a picture of her bully and they arrested her. Somewhere, I think it was in South Carolina or somewhere like that, there were some black kids, and I think these children were like under the age of 10, were watching a fight, and they were all arrested because they didn't stop the fight. 2 teenage black boys were arrested because a white supremacist in Virginia attacked them and started calling them all kind of niggas and threatening them and all of that, and the white man actually hit one of them upside the head, so the boy defended himself and beat him down. They were charged. So even though this is what you have to deal with, this is what you have to see every day of your life, we're going to teach you that it's somebody else's problem. We're going to lie to you and tell you this ain't really your problem. This ain't really nothing for you to be concerned about. This is someone else's problem. But yet, you see for yourself that no one else is being treated like this. After 6 months, the Asians had a hotline. After a year, they had a whole hate crime bill. Illegal aliens, I'm going to call them what they are, illegal aliens, illegal immigrants are coming over here and getting all kind of protections. You can't call them an illegal alien. In some states, their cars can't be taken away from them, even though they're driving without driver's license and driving without car insurance. They got all kinds of protections. So you looking around you and you see that people like you, black people with your skin color coming from where you come from, are the only people that are being treated like this. But yet you got folks telling you, but it ain't your problem though. It's someone else's problem. It's not yours. Because that's what she just said. Let's listen to it again.
To be anything you want to be. And with me, that's somebody else's problem, not yours. You're going to overcome it, and you are going to be anything you want to be. And that's the message that I think we ought to be sending to kids. One of the worries that I have.
And that's the message that we ought to be sending to kids. That is somebody else's problem, not yours. You gonna overcome it. How? How? The same way she overcame it? By being a coon? By being a bootlick? By going along to get along? By coming out doing what she's doing right now, which is telling lies? And acting like history is not history? And acting like the truth is not the truth? Is that how they're supposed to overcome? So let's keep listening.
About the way that we're talking about race is that it either seems so big that somehow white people now have to feel guilty for everything that happened in the past. I don't think that's very productive. Or black people.
So she worried about white folks feeling guilty. First of all, let me deal with this. First of all, we as foundational black Americans and black people as a whole, but especially we foundational black Americans, we don't owe anybody any damn thing. We don't have to make any apologies to anybody. You understand what I'm saying? And we don't owe anybody anything. We built this. We built it from the ground up, and we sustained it for over 400 years. Not only did we build it, but we built it, and then we maintained it after we built it. Nobody gave us anything. Nobody gave us any free land, the Homestead Act, where you get all the immigrants in and you just start doling them out land. And then after you dole them out land, you dole them out money, and you teach them how to grow, how to start farms and all of this kind of stuff. Nobody gave us anything. Nobody gave us any handouts. Nobody gave us anything. So we don't owe anybody anything. We don't owe anybody any apologies. We don't owe anybody any sympathy. We don't owe anybody anything. As a matter of fact, we are the ones that are owed. So that's the second thing. And black folks, foundational black Americans especially, we have got to stop allowing them to see other black folks, their bootlicks, their little puppets, their little coons that they have hyped up and given them a little position and given them a little title and given them a little bit of money or whatever. We have got to stop allowing them to send these people out and guilt us and make us ashamed for telling the truth. Not telling our truth, telling the truth. The truth that's documented, the truth that's recorded. Not some truth that comes from oral generations and it's been passed down orally and it's been passed down from generation to generation in the family and all of that. No. We're talking about truth that is documented. Truth that has evidence and proof behind it. We have got to stop allowing people to come out and shame us for speaking the truth. therefore claiming who we are. You understand what I'm saying? Finally acknowledging and accepting who we are. Finally acknowledging and accepting and speaking on the fact that we built this. This belongs to us. And that we were here even before it was built. Even before this was a nation. Black folks were here. Thousands of years before it was a nation. We were here. As Aboriginal people and as visitors. There's documented evidence that Africans were coming to the North American continent trading with the natives. Thousands of years before Columbus. And remember, Columbus never set foot on the North American continent. He only made it to South America. So we've got to stop allowing these people to come out and shame us, dumb us down, you understand what I'm saying? Cower us, and cause us to be quiet. We are speaking out. We are speaking the truth. And we have to continue speaking the truth. And we can't worry about whether we're making some folks uncomfortable or whether we're making some folks feel guilty, because this is the thing. If it was possible to make white supremacists and racists feel guilty, if that was possible, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. Because there would no longer be a system of white supremacy and racism in the world, less more on the North American continent. So we ain't got to worry about making them feel guilty. You understand what I'm saying? We ain't got to worry about making them feel bad about what they did in the past. Okay, if it was just in the past, then okay. But it's not just in the past. First of all, slavery ain't that far in the past. That's the first thing. Jim Crow certainly ain't. Redlining, gentrification, lynching, mass incarceration, none of those things are ancient. None of those things are in the past. Those are things that we deal with every single day. Police brutality, killing black folks on the streets with impunity, none of that is in the past. All of that is stuff that we deal with every day, today. So they can stop trying to, that's what they do. They try to come out and act like it was supposed to all stop when slavery ended. Well, maybe it was, but it didn't. And it ain't our fault that it didn't. It's the system's fault. It's the government's fault. It's this white supremacist system that never stopped. So the racism, the discrimination, the hatred never stopped. So it's not shit that happened in the past. It's still happening now. And that's what they keep sending these bootlicks out to try to reiterate. Oh, it was the past. It was the past. It happened in the past. Slavery was in the past. We need to move on. We need to get over it. Okay, well, like I said, and we've said this over and over and over again. I've said it. Millions of people have said it over and over. You ain't telling the Jews to get over the Holocaust. You didn't tell them Asian Americans to get over all of this so-called all this so-called Stop Asian Hate mess. You didn't tell them to just get over it. You told them to get over it with $50 million and a hate crime bill. You didn't tell the Afghans to just get over the Taliban being back in control and y'all over there, y'all just gonna have to get over it. No, you brought them over here and gave them $6.3 billion. But you want to tell black people just get over it, just move on. But have given us nothing to repair the damage that was done to us. Have given us nothing to make us whole. Have given us no reason to get over it. It's always with us, just forgive, and move on. Just get over it and move on. No. Let's keep going. But like I said, if it was about making them feel guilty, if it was possible to make these people feel guilty, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now. There would have been no Breonna Taylor. There would have been no George Floyd. There would have been no Ahmaud Arbery. There would have been no what was his name? Laquan McDonald. There would have been no Akai Gurley. There would have been no Sandra Bland. There would have been no Tamir Rice. There would have been no Trayvon Martin. There would have been no Mike Brown. There would have been none of that. There would have been no Tulsa. There would have been no Wilmington. There would have been no summer of 1919. There would have been none of that. If you could make these people feel guilty, if you could guilt these people out of their savage hatred and their savage behavior towards black folks, if you could guilt them. So we're not trying to make anybody feel guilty. We don't give a damn whether you feel guilty or not. It's time for you to make us whole the same way you made the Asians whole, the same way you made the Jews whole, the same way you made the slave masters whole when you gave them reparations. It's time for you to make us whole. We want to be made whole. We want to be repaid for the damage and the injury that you did to us, and that you are still doing to us. We're not interested in your guilt. We're not interested in your guilt. We're not interested in your symbolism. We're not interested in your apologies unless your apologies come with a check. So it's almost like she's trying to reduce all that we're doing now as far as race is concerned, and as far as standing up, and as far as demanding our reparations and all this. It's like they're trying to say we're doing this to try to make white folk feel guilty. No, we're not interested in your guilt. Your guilt won't repair us. Your guilt won't make us whole. Your guilt won't help to repair the damage that you did to us as a race of people. Your guilt won't close that wealth gap. Let's continue.
I feel disempowered by race. I would like black kids to be completely empowered, to know that they are beautiful in their blackness. Mm-hmm. But in order to do that, I don't have to make white kids feel bad for being white. So
this whole speech was about we got to make white folks comfortable. We can't make white folks uncomfortable. We can't make white folks feel bad. But she ain't said a word about how black kids are being made to feel guilty and feel bad about being black every day of their lives. They see the conditions that they live in. They see the schools that they go to. They see the neighborhoods that they live in. They see the constant threat from police, from school officials. Not to mention the constant threat in the environments that they live in, because these environments are so hostile. Why? Because these white folks made it a point to create these ghettos. To create these large areas where you have large numbers of black people who are unemployed, disenfranchised, you understand what I'm saying? Depressed. Don't know how they're going to make it from one day to the next. And those are the environments that we try to raise black kids in. But you ain't said nothing about white supremacy and racism creating those environments that make black children feel so bad about being black. They make black children feel guilty for being born black. But we're supposed to worry about how white kids feel. That we're making them feel guilty for being white. Come on, these white kids ain't worrying about that. They rested in their white privilege. They rest in their whiteness. They revel in their whiteness. They They sunbathe in it and soak it up like rays of sun. They're not feeling guilty about being white. They don't care how much you talk about slavery and Jim Crow and Reconstruction and lynchings and the Civil Rights Movement and mass incarceration and the school to prison pipeline and redlining and discrimination in schools and all this and jobs. They don't care how much you talk about all of that. They will feel bad for a moment and then look at you and be grateful and thankful for their whiteness. They ain't gonna feel guilty about it. Again, like I said, if you could guilt white supremacy, we wouldn't be having this discussion. She wouldn't be on The View talking this foolishness that she talking. If we could make them feel guilty. If we could make them feel bad about how they have treated black folks over the last 500 years. And how you gonna be empowered with no money? How you gonna be empowered without access to the same things that these white kids have access to? How you gonna feel empowered? Oh, just cause somebody tell you you black and beautiful. Okay. They still ain't putting no money in your pocket. They're still not giving you access to better education and a better school. They're still not giving you access to a better job. They're still not giving you access and the ability to be able to walk in the streets in your blackness and not have to worry about some police officer or some white citizen deciding that you don't need to be here no more. But you didn't tell Asian people, Asian Americans, and the Latinos and the illegals and all of that they just should be beautiful in their immigration or beautiful in their foreignness. And that's going to be all the protection and all the empowerment that you need is just to feel beautiful in who you are and about what you are. No, they empowered them with laws, hate crime bills, legislation, money, tangibles. But we don't empower black children who got to deal with this racist system every day of their lives and see how it works. We empower them by telling them how beautiful they are in their blackness. Come on now. And yes, they are beautiful in their blackness, and they should be proud of it. But they also need some tangibles. Because their beautiful blackness, again, is not going to close their wealth gap.
But somehow this is a conversation that has gone in the wrong direction.
That last part, you don't have to lie.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, in order for black kids who, quite frankly, for a long time, the way they were portrayed, the way their history was portrayed, it was second-class citizenship.
Of course.
But I don't have to make white children feel bad about being white in order to overcome the fact that black children were
How do you think? I have a couple examples here. Actually.
Yeah.
In Cupertino, California, in an elementary school, third graders are instructed to rank themselves based on their power and their privilege. California's Department of Education is proposing to eliminate opportunities for accelerated math in the name of equity. In Greenwich, a white bias survey is handed out to 7th grade English class. A New York private school is separating by race, gender, and ethnicity. White identifying group met with a white consultant who displayed a slide that named supposed characteristics of white supremacy. An equity statement from the school district of Palm Beach County outlined the initiative dismantling structures rooted in white advantage. It's happening across the country.
Well, but again, if you have a teacher, history is going to be taught.
Yeah, absolutely.
History is going to be taught. And as we were talking earlier, when you go to Texas, you talk to Mexican kids who feel like crap because they're being told they're less than because of the Alamo. The whole idea of teaching history is so we don't repeat it. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you're a good teacher, you don't teach to make a white kid feel bad. Right. You're supposed to say, listen, you didn't do any of this, but you should know what happened.
So that's Whoopi talking about you should know what happened and all of that. Again, and I agree with her on this instance. History needs to be taught. The truth of history needs to be taught, right? If you're white and you feel guilty because of your history, that's on you. That's not our problem. That's not our problem. We don't speak the truth because we're concerned about making white folks feel guilty. Because again, as I've said, if it was about making them feel guilty, if everything that has happened over the last 500 years don't make them feel guilty and make them change their ways, nothing will. So I'll have the link to this particular clip from The View in the description box, and y'all can go listen and y'all can go hear the rest of what was said and all of this kind of stuff. But I just wanted to point out how they keep sending these black bootlicks and these black puppets of white supremacy out to try to guilt us and to try to shame us into shutting up. Especially those of us who have been listening to and who have become a part of the new black media. You understand what I'm saying? And we're learning who we are. We're learning about our lineage. We're learning about the fact that we were here in many cases before Columbus. This is our land. We built this. You understand what I'm saying? And we realize that we are the only group that has a true justice claim. And all of this stuff is directed at us. And making us feel bad and shaming us and guilting us and telling us that we just need to get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. We just need to hush while they rewrite history. Or while they tell the history the way they want to tell it or whitewash it to try to make it better for them. Because it makes them look bad. Globally. So now, let me move on because I don't want to be here too long. But let me move on to another piece of bullshit. And this is this new so-called executive order. And this ain't even no executive order. I don't know what the hell they're going to call this. But they calling it an executive order. And this is the best that they can do for so-called black Americans. This is the best that Biden's administration, that Biden could come up with for us. And if you read this thing, and if you look at it, it's actually a slap in the face, considering the executive orders that he has specifically done for other specific groups since he's been in the White House. For transgenders specifically, for LGBT specifically, for Asian American, Pacific Islanders specifically, for illegal aliens specifically. There have been specific, very real executive orders that he has done for other groups, specific for them, didn't include everybody else, specific for them, that included tangibles, money, the whole 9 yards. So this is supposed to be the executive order that he comes out with for black folks. October the 19th, 2021, and I have the link to it in the description box. Presidential actions. Briefing room. Executive order on White House initiative. Here we go with another initiative on advancing educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for black Americans. So in the heading, it specifically says for black Americans, right? I'm not going to read a whole lot of this, but I just want to read enough so that black people will understand that this ain't nothing but a bunch of bullshit. That this ain't nothing but a bunch of nothing. This is them again throwing out something where in the first 2 or 3 paragraphs all they talk about is black Americans, black Americans, black Americans, black Americans. But then when they get down to the grit of it, they include everybody else, right? So I'm just going to read a little bit of it. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. Like we're getting ready to get something real important. Like we're getting ready to finally get a tangible. Like we're getting ready to really finally address some of these black issues. Yeah, right. Section 1 policy. Educational opportunity is a fundamental element of the American promise. The United States Supreme Court recognized in 1954 in Brown versus Board of Education that education is a right which must be made available to all on equal terms. Yeah, right. In the decades since, our nation has made progress in advancing equity and fairness in our schools, and the achievements, talents, and tenacity of black students, educators, families, and scholars make our nation's schools and communities stronger for all Americans. Black students are thriving in schools across the country, inside the classroom as valedictorians and award-winning scientists, and outside of it, including in debate, athletics, student government, and national spelling bees, among many other areas. So he just throwed in some stuff where that little black girl back here won the spelling bee. They talking about them two black girls that were named valedictorian and salutatorian, I think, and they had to switch that around because two white parents got upset, and the girls had to share that with two white students. So see, this is some shit that he just trying to throw in. You understand what I'm saying? To try to make you feel good. This is all about making black folks feel good. So maybe we'll be quiet for a little while. Just a little something, just a little symbolism. You understand what I'm saying? To appease us. You understand? Because the midterms are coming up. The 2022 midterms are coming up. So it's time to throw us a little bone. You understand what I'm saying? To appease us a little bit. Over the course of America's history, black Americans have helped to build, strengthen, and lead our nation towards becoming a more perfect union. Have helped to build. No, we built it. We didn't help build it. It didn't exist before us. Although for far too long, black Americans were denied even the most basic access to education, the vital contribution of black Americans in the fields of science, academia, business, and public service, among others, are a testament to the resilience of black Americans and the steps our nation has taken to expand access to education and opportunities. Okay, we didn't need y'all to expand anything. Fresh out of slavery. 2-3 decades out of slavery. 4 or 5 decades out of slavery, we're building our own black institutions, our own black colleges. You understand what I'm saying? Our own black schools in our own black communities. Until y'all got jealous and came in and burned them all down and destroyed them. In spite of this progress, entrenched disparities continue to plague America's education system. Instead of him just saying white supremacy, discrimination, he gonna call it disparities, holding far too many black students back from achieving their full potential. Because of persistent racial and systematic injustices in our nation, black students remain more likely to attend high poverty and racially segregated schools than white students. So he goes on, black students this, black students that, black students this. These disparities. Okay, but this is where I told you. Paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time you get to the end of paragraph 4, they done already thrown in the bullshit. They done already thrown in the bullshit. So let me read paragraph 4 to you in its entirety. In spite of this progress, entrenched disparities continue to plague America's education system, holding far too many black students back from achieving their full potential. So you think because you done read up to this far that all this is about is black students, black Americans, black, right? Let's keep going. Because of persistent racial and systemic injustices in our nation, black students remain more likely to attend high poverty and racially segregated schools than white students. Black students are inequitably disciplined and suspended from school at disproportionately higher rates than white students for similar offenses. In addition, black students, he just keeps saying it over and over and over again, black students. In addition, black students too often face limited access to advanced and college preparatory courses. Systemic racial disparities in education negatively impact learning outcomes for black students, and many face persistent gaps in reading and mathematics achievement. Studies show that school districts with high concentrations of black students are much more likely to be underfunded than districts where a majority of students are white and face much wider funding gaps with an average deficit of more than $5,000 per student. Black students, that's all you're hearing throughout this whole paragraph. Black students this, black that, black students this, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Black students are still below the national average for educational attainment in high school, and that gap is even higher for college attainment rates, as 26% of Black Americans ages 25 and older have attained a bachelor's degree, while the national average is 36%. Black students, listen very carefully. Black students, so they start out the sentence specific. Black students also face unique challenges at the intersection of race and gender. Here comes the bullshit. Here comes the bullshit where you decide that now you're going to ease everybody else into this, including LGBT and other races. Black students also face unique challenges at the intersection of race and gender. See, they figure by the time you get down here to this last sentence, you done seen black student so much that you honestly believe that this shit is for black folks. That this is something specific to black folks. That this is something specific to our black issues. No, it's not. It never is. But you have to keep reading. Or you have to take the time to read the fine print. Barriers to equity in education can compound for black students who are also LGBTQ students, English language learners, dreamers, or students with disabilities. Okay, so how can a black American student also be an English language learner or dreamer? They can't be. Because remember now, when you get back up here to the title of this thing, Executive Order on White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity for Black Americans. Throughout all these paragraphs, all we've heard about is black Americans, black students, black Americans, black Americans. But now you're down here wanting to throw in LGBT, English language learners. Okay, if they're black Americans and they're black students, then obviously they already know the English language. And then you want to throw in dreamers. And then you want to throw in or students, not black students. Now the word black is suspiciously missing. Not black students with disabilities, but students with disabilities. Well, they go all the white ones. They go all the Hispanics. They go all the Asian. They go any student with disabilities. So right there, before you can even get down to what this thing is supposed to contain and what they're supposedly supposed to be doing for black Americans, they've already included everybody else. They've already included every other group of people. LGBT, immigrants, English language learners, immigrants, dreamers, illegal aliens, and white students, Asian students, and anybody else with their students with disabilities. So before you can even get past paragraph 4, here comes the bullshit. And if that ain't bad enough, let's go down here to talk about what he gonna do. It is the policy of my administration to advance educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for black Americans. Now remember, all of this is supposed to be for black Americans. So where do dreamers come from? Where the English learners come from? The English language learners come from? Where the students with disabilities come from? Not black students with disabilities, but students with disabilities. So because it's worded that way, any student can have access to it, as long as they have a disability. It is the policy of my administration to advance educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Black Americans and communities from early childhood until their chosen career. Section 2. This is supposed to be what this initiative is supposed to do for Black Americans. White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity for Black Americans. A. To advance equity in our nation's schools and to promote the economic opportunity that follows it. There is established in the Department of Education the White House Initiative on Advancing Education. So they done opened up some other kind of little department. The Secretary of Education will serve as the chair. It's like some kind of little committee. You know, they always form a committee when it comes to us. When it comes to us, you got to have a vote. You got to have a committee. You got to have studies. You got to have Congress. Got to pass legislation. You got to have all of that when it comes to anything to be done for Black folks. You can get $6.3 billion for the Afghans without going through all that. You can get an executive order for the Asian Americans that included $50 million without going through all that. You can do all that, but when it comes to us, we got to have committees and we got to have chair people and we got to have studies and all of that. The initiative shall advance educational equity and economic opportunity for Black students, families, and communities by focusing on the following policy goals. Increasing general understanding of systemic causes of educational challenges. So we're gonna increase understanding. We're gonna increase Black children's and families' access to and participation in high quality early childhood programs and services. We're gonna increase it. Right? We still ain't heard nothing about no money yet. We ain't heard nothing about no tangibles. Because remember, this is the same president that before he threw this bullshit out on you, just cut the funding well over half for HBCUs. But now he wants you to believe he's concerned about your education and about you having equity in education and in economic opportunities. But he done cut all that funding for the HBCUs so that he could use some of that money to get that $6.3 billion for them Afghans. Addressing the inequitable treatment of Black children, such as eradicating discriminatory referrals to special education and access and excessive disciplinary actions. Okay, who's going to do all that? They're going to address it. They said they were going to address it. They didn't say they were going to stop it. They said they were going to address it. Right? Supporting and improving data collection. So now we got to worry about collecting data. But you still ain't said nothing about no money. You still ain't said nothing about no tangibles. You still ain't said nothing about, well, we gonna give these Black schools in these Black areas more money so that they can build these schools up. You understand what I'm saying? And so that they can get better equipment and better teachers and better books and all of this kind of stuff in these actual Black schools. Now, I ain't said nothing about no funding and no money, right? Ensuring that all Black students have access to excellent teachers, school leaders, and other professionals, including by supporting efforts to improve the recruitment, preparation, development. What's that supposed to do? Still ain't said nothing about no tangibles. Enhancing student support services and fostering positive engagement among schools. Promoting a positive school climate that supports equitable access to and participation in college readiness, advanced placement, courses, and internship opportunities. Okay, so you know, in order for any of this stuff to work, all of the states have to buy into this and start implementing this. Because you have state and county school boards and state and county school districts. Okay? But you still don't see anything about any meat and potatoes. You don't see anything about any funding, any money. Breaking down barriers. Advancing racial equity and economic opportunity by connecting education to labor market needs. So we're just going to teach these niggas how to work. We're going to continue to farm them out to work. Ain't said nothing about making these Fortune 500 companies and making all of these companies that got their wealth from slavery and discrimination and white supremacy going in and partnering, you understand what I'm saying, and mentoring these children in how to own businesses and how to operate on the corporate level. Ensuring the black communities have access to resources for economic success, such as in the area of financial education, small business development, entrepreneurship. Okay, how you gonna do that without money? But you ain't thrown out no figure yet. How you gonna do that without money? And like I said, it'll be listed down here so y'all can read it. But you don't see anything on here about any amount of money. None of that. How to promote career pathways for in-demand jobs for black students. Yeah, we just want you to work. But I just wanted to go over this. You know, like I said, the link to this will be in the description box. You know, you can pull it up, you can read it, read the whole entire thing and all of that, and you'll see that it's a nothing burger. I got this from Tariq, from watching Tariq's program. I think it was last night, and I was like, yeah, that's something that I need to share also and talk about on my channel for my people. So y'all can get the link will be in the description box. Go read it for yourself, and you'll see it's just a bunch of bullshit. It's just enough of it ain't even a bone. This is like one of them little snack bones that they throwing out to black people. And of course, you know, the bootlicks and the black and the white supremacists in black faces are gonna come out, and they're gonna try to push this, and they're gonna try to act like it means something and like it's something worthwhile. You understand what I'm saying? And all of that, trying to get, like I said, trying to pique our interest and trying to give us just enough so that we'll vote Democrat midterm 2022. Because they know things ain't looking good for them right now. But for those of us who are serious about black empowerment, we ain't buying this. We're not buying into this because he still ain't cutting no check. He still ain't said nothing about cutting no check. You understand what I'm saying? If anything other than cutting the check, he cutting what little bit he was giving the black community. In cutting the funding for the HBCUs. But they think we're so stupid that we didn't pay no attention to that, but we'll buy this. Or we'll forgive him for that, or we'll look over that or dismiss that and accept this bullshit right here. I think he cut the funding for the HBCUs down from like 30 billion to like 2 billion. Something like that. I'm not exactly sure of exactly how much it was, but it was a huge cut. Why? Because he needed that money to fund all this other shit he doing. And this shit he doing for all these other groups. He needed that money to fund that $6.3 billion for them Afghans. And there's some more Afghans coming, so we're going to have to get some more money from somewhere. So this right here ain't nothing but bullshit. This right here ain't nothing but slap in the face. We've been demanding executive order. We've been talking about where's our executive order, especially after they did that hate crime thing and that executive order for the AAPIs. We've been talking about where, so I guess he called himself trying to be funny and telling us, here's your executive order. No, sir, Mr. President, we don't accept this. This won't cut it. This ain't what we were talking about, and you know this ain't what we were talking about. We ain't gonna settle for nothing less than you cutting the check. Reparations. Across the board. All the land that you stole. All the dreams of black people that you destroyed when you stole their land and destroyed their communities and put highways and freeways through their communities to cause their communities to go into economic ruin. When you pay for all of that, then maybe we might be a little closer to being satisfied. But this ain't gonna cut it. So black folks don't fall for this, because this ain't nothing but an empty piece of symbolism. That's all it is. Just more symbolism, like that Juneteenth bullshit, like that old hip-hop day and hip-hop national month and all of that. All of it ain't nothing but a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of empty symbolism. It don't mean nothing, because it don't carry no tangibles with it. It don't carry no check with it. It's not repairing us in any kind of way. It's not making us whole in any kind of way. It's not repairing the damage that this government has done to us over the last 500 years. So no, this ain't gonna cut it. But I'm following the lead of the thought leaders of the new black media. And sharing what's important to us. Sharing the things that we really need to know. The things that we need to dig into. So that our people won't buy the bullshit. Won't continue over and over and over again to buy the bullshit. Because they swear all out we don't read. That's the reason why it's so easy to fool us. That's the reason why it's so easy to scam us. That's the reason why it's so easy to keep us in line and keep us in order and pull the wool over our eyes. Is because we don't read past a headline or past a paragraph or two. But now, thanks to the new black media, you got folks that'll read it and then read it again and then break it down and then break it down some more to you. So you have no excuse. You can't say you didn't understand. So do we have an executive order? No, we still don't have one. We still don't have one. Because this ain't nothing but a bunch of bullshit. So we still don't have one. But I'm gone. This is just what I wanted to bring y'all. These are just the two things that I wanted to talk about today. Because I felt like they were important. I felt like we need to be careful. We need to know when they pulling out the old bootlicks and when they pulling out the old reliables. You understand what I'm saying? That have fooled us for so many years and all of that. And we need to understand that we cannot allow these people come out and shame us, to come out and guilt us, to come out and make us feel bad when we speak the truth about history, when we speak the truth about our history, when we speak the truth about how we have been treated in this nation and how we were treated before this was a nation, and the fact that we built this thing from scratch and have maintained it for hundreds of years on our labor, on our free labor, and our deaths and our blood and our sweat and our bodies, the whole 9 yards. So we can't let these people shame us into being silent. And we can't let our children grow up to be cowards that won't continue to speak the truth. You gotta speak the truth. It ain't about whether somebody feel bad or not. You don't withhold the truth because you worried about somebody's feelings or because you don't want to make somebody feel bad. If you speak the truth and the truth steps all over their toes and makes them feel bad, okay, well maybe it's because they is guilty of something. And in that case, they need to take a look at themselves. They ain't got nothing to do with you. They need to look at themselves. I have heard a whole lot of hard truths in my life. There have been times when folk have spoke the truth to me, around me, or whatever, and walked all over my toes. My feet was hurting when they got finished. Sometimes it made me mad. Sometimes it made me cry. Sometimes it made me feel guilty. Sometimes it made me feel bad. But all times, it made me at some point stop and look within myself. But see, that's been the problem. We've been walking around too busy trying to make everybody comfortable. Worrying about everybody else's feelings. Worrying about how we gonna make people feel if we speak the truth, if we stand up. And ain't nobody never gave a damn about our feelings. Ain't nobody never gave a damn about whether what they were saying or what they were doing to us made us feel some type of way. And they wasn't always speaking the truth. They tell a whole bunch of lies, and they don't give a damn whether we feel bad about the lies they tell or not. They tell them lies and then get mad at us when we don't accept them. When we don't just lay down and roll over and accept them lies. White supremacy is good for filling your head with a bunch of lies and telling a bunch of lies and throwing around a bunch of false narratives. And they're good with you as long as you accept that. But the minute you refuse to accept it, and the minute you want to speak truth, and the minute you buck up and say, no, that ain't true, then that's when they get mad and they want to try to beat you down. But we can't raise our children up to be so concerned about other people's feelings and making other people feel bad that they get to lying and accepting lies and won't speak the truth. And that's what Condoleezza Rice wants us to do. Wants us to tell our children, well, you know, racism is somebody else's problem. Racism is something for somebody else to deal with. So you don't have to talk about that. You know, you need to be quiet about that. Because if you talk about that too much, you're going to make white folks feel guilty. You're going to make white folks uncomfortable. You're going to make white folks feel bad. So, you know, you just understand that you black and beautiful. And somehow, you understand what I'm saying? With all the racism that you got to deal with, even though you won't acknowledge it, even though you won't speak on it, even though you won't speak the truth about it, with all the racism you have to deal with, somehow or another, we'll figure out some kind of way for it to look like you overcome it. But just don't say nothing. Because you're going to make folks uncomfortable. You're going to make folks feel bad. You're going to make folks feel guilty. Even though them same folks ain't worrying about your damn feelings. I ain't never worried about your feelings. But we can't raise up another generation of coons and cowards. We can't raise up another generation of black folks that won't speak out, won't speak up, and won't speak the truth. For fear of making somebody uncomfortable or making somebody angry or making somebody feel bad. Because like I said, if the truth hits you and it makes you feel bad or it makes you feel guilty, then you need to check yourself. That's not our problem. So y'all make sure y'all like this video. Please share the video. Have these conversations, like I always say, on social media and off social media. Have these conversations with your family, your friends, you know, your co-workers. Have these conversations. Know what's going on. Take the time to read this stuff. Take the time to listen to this stuff. Take the time to read this so-called executive order. Because as far as I'm concerned, we still don't have one. If this was the best he could do, as far as I'm concerned, this is a joke. And he very well could have meant it to be a joke. But don't be appeased. Don't fall for the symbolism. Don't fall for the bullshit like many black folks did. You understand what I'm saying? With that Juneteenth mess. You understand what I'm saying? And some of this other symbolism that they've been throwing out at us. Don't be amused. Don't be fooled with that. Don't buy into that. The Democrats are in trouble. You understand what I'm saying? And they trying to throw you know, a few little dog treats You understand what I'm saying? A few little dog biscuits, not even real butter biscuits, but a few little dog biscuits. You understand what I'm saying? So that they can get your support in midterm 2020s. That's all this is about. And it's time for us to stop falling for the okie doke. It's time for us to stop falling for the lies and the schemes and the trick bags and the Jedi mind tricks that they try to play on us. And all these black folks that they throw out to keep us in line and to keep us toeing the line. Because it's their job to make sure that we keep going along with the status quo. So again, like I said, please share this video, have these conversations, get down in the description box, read this stuff, find out what's going on for yourself, and talk about it. Share it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we upload videos. I honestly believe that my channel is already shadow banned. I honestly believe that. And it's because of my content. It's because of my content. You understand what I'm saying? But, you know, if you want to, just come to the page every once in a while and click and see if we've uploaded anything if you're not getting any kind of notifications. But again, y'all read and become aware of what's really going on. So that we as black people, we as foundational black Americans as a whole, so that we can stop falling for this mess. And so that we can get on code with one another, stay on code with one another, and let these folks know that we just not going along with the bullshit no more. It's tangibles or nothing. No reparations, no vote. You ain't got nothing to give us, we ain't got nothing to give you. It's just that simple. If you ready to sit down at the table and make a real exchange, then we'll sit down at the table with you. Otherwise, we ain't got time. We ain't got time for bullshit like this. We pass symbolism. Okay? So like I said, that's all I got for y'all. Everybody stay safe. Everybody be smart. Everybody stay on code. And I'll be back with y'all soon. Have a good one.